And did you go straight into Rizek? Or did you
No,
have
so I've been
a-
investing mainly. يعني once I exited renewables, I've always been taken by tech, and I always wanted to invest into tech more and more. So if any of our listeners are are pitching any exciting ventures, we're more than happy to look at that. We've been looking at investing in tech in many different spaces, and one of the opportunities that we saw that nobody was building, or we didn't find anybody to invest in that, was Rizek, or was the concept of a super platform of services. So we decided to take that on ourselves, and we decided to build it for ourselves. And alhamdulillah, it's been very interesting ever since.
That's great. I mean, what's even better, it's definitely but I'm sure that there were others for you, right? It's not the first time someone tries to create more of a platform for these kind of services in tech. So what do you think was your edge? How did you really break into the market?
So there's multiple different things that happen to create an edge of any business. يعني حتى if you look at the likes of YouTube, for example, which is a great business. Like, and YouTube is not the first video streaming platform. There have been platforms that were much earlier to YouTube and had much better technologies maybe at time. Lakin there is a mixture of things that need to happen at the same time. The opportunity needs to be valid, the technology needs to be enabling, and the time needs to be right. When I mean the opportunity needs to be valid, is that there needs to be a need for it. So in the early days of when there were people before YouTube, the internet speed was too low to stream a video. So people would not see the merit in that. When YouTube came, the internet was just hitting those speeds whereby you can comfortably stream a video. And that contributed massively to YouTube's success, because if YouTube came earlier and the internet was still slow, they probably wouldn't have had the traffic that they have today. And the same with Rizek. I think the time was correct. The technologies were aligned in a much better fashion than what our predecessors had. And we had better opportunities to work around, probably. So it's not, we can't claim it, as our own genius or as our own reward, but there are multiple different factors that came at play. And execution is definitely a big part of it. But again, the time was ready. People were already ready. يعني الآن people in the region are much more ready to order a service from a platform on a phone than they were 10 years ago or 5 years ago. If 5 years ago you're trying to pitch someone to order a service from a phone, they would be very, very skeptical about it. But the coming of Kareem, of Talabat, of the bigger aggregators made it very acceptable for people to work, to use a platform as a source of income and to use a platform as a source of service.
And do you feel that the pandemic helped or hindered that?
No, I think for us at least, I definitely am sorry for everybody who's suffering with the pandemic, and inshallah, we managed to see everybody healthy and strong and keeping safe. And for us, it put us on steroids. It opened a lot of doors that were never open before, because all of a sudden you had people locked up in their houses needing that they never thought they needed before. And you never thought you'd see people saying, I would do anything not to go to a hospital. I need all my healthcare services at home. I need all of this at home. So that created a lot of understanding of what a platform power could look like. And then on the supplier side of things as well, people started thinking, okay, why do I need a location? If I can go cut people's hair at home, why am I paying rent and electricity and utilities and all of that? And nobody's going out anyway. So it created a big paradigm shift in how people think about building businesses. And it created a big acceptance of, I could be a business that exists only on a platform, and that's very acceptable and very lucrative. And it created the understanding in the user mind that getting my services at home could be the way of how I could get services altogether.
And I think it's changed forever. I mean, even after everything kind of normal, well, there won't be normal, right? Everyone will be just much more willing to use these services and much more reluctant to go and get them. So that's a great thing, I think.
True.
So what kinds of services do you have? You mentioned healthcare, you mentioned all kinds of other things. Where does it start? Where
So
does it end?
it doesn't, hopefully it doesn't end. يعني it starts with, we have six main segments that we are working about right now: cleaning, home basically, which is anything from maintenance to cleaning to what have you. Automotive, which is all the car needs and all the automotive needs. You have your healthcare segment, you have your beauty segment. Now we're adding lifestyle and education, hopefully soon. Uh, the purpose is to be the one-stop platform where you don't really need any other platform to operate any kind of service. And this is, inshallah, where we're heading, yani, with the support of the team and our people. This is where we're trying to go.
That's amazing. And now you're located in Abu Dhabi. Are you
Yeah.
as well?
Yes, so we operate in all of the Emirates in the UAE. We are just expanding into Saudi and Egypt right now.
Congratulations.
That's why I'm in Cairo. And yeah, we're looking forward to a quick, rapid regional growth, inshallah. So now Saudi and Egypt are proving very, very good markets for us, and inshallah from there we'll pick up the next markets.
I mean, those are the two big markets that every startup wants to get into, right? So that's great. If you make it there, then you're kind of spreading across the region very quickly, which is amazing. We have quite a few questions coming in, but I have a few of my own questions first, but related to what I had asked actually before you joined. How do you kind of, since the services are so diverse, how do you have any quality assurance or make the service that they're getting?
Now, in any business that works with humans, as long, yani, any business that is not fully automated, quality is an ongoing struggle, because you might have a great barber or a great handyman or a great nurse, but they might be just having a bad. So, and that affects the quality of their work, and that affects the quality of their presence, and you as a platform sometimes suffer because of that. So quality is always, when dealing with humans, is always a hit or miss, or is not a constant. The effort and the investment put into maintaining quality is super high. And as a super platform, we try and make sure that all the tenants on our platform maintain certain guidelines, maintain certain quality metrics. But if anybody reaches out to you and try to pitch you on 100% perfect quality in a humanly driven business, that's super difficult to believe. So definitely quality is an ongoing challenge, something we try and work on every day. But then at the end of the day, there is a lot of the times where you miss that and you try to make it up and you invest in rectifying.
And Hamoud as well is asking that this kind of business model can be quite risky because it can be imitated. So how do you differentiate from other players?
I don't know any kind of business that cannot be imitated now. Everything is very easily movable, because if we talk about internet development 20 years ago, only a handful of people could actually develop WPAs or internet. Now it's much more accessible and anybody can copy. So what's stopping anybody from making an Uber right now? Uber is an aggregator, and the technology is there. Everybody has access. You can white label the actual exact same source code of Uber. But when building a marketplace, there is a lot of metrics that you try and put, or red tape that you try and put around your business, that can be difficult to copy, mainly land grab, as in your numbers of users and the loyalty of your users and the retention of your users. Keeping them looped into you, a very good customer lifetime value cycle is also super important. On a very high level, every business you can imitate any business. Anybody can build an Amazon or an Uber or a Careem or whatever it is, but executing on it is the difficult part that I don't think a lot of people can imitate.
That's a good point. I mean, I think there's a quote as well about you don't have to be the first, be the best, right?
Yeah, always.
So tell me a little bit more about gig economy. It's a bit of a buzz, kind of how you also market your app. So tell us a little bit more about it and how you're contributing to kind of solving the gig economy issues?
So the gig economy is basically is an economical theory built on the dispersing of cost. الآن if you look at the way services are being rendered in a lot of places, you look at a vendor who is passing down cost along to the customer. يعني you as a customer, when you go get a manicure as Sarah in some salon, you're indirectly paying for their electricity bills, you're paying for their visas, you're paying for their all of the costs that you don't really have to pay for. You're not really concerned that this guy pays really high electricity or very high rent or what kind of deal he negotiated with the landlord. That doesn't reflect on the quality of your manicure, right? You just need to get that service done at a good quality. The gig economy is basically empowering services without having to go through the economical shred of overhead, without having to go through that basis where they go through aggressive overheads, meaning it brings the price down for the end user and brings the cost down for the provider. And it's breaking the economy down from institutional service performance into individual service performance. Meaning instead of us having the New York taxi company, we have Uber, which is 100,000 drivers spread out across the city. It's very decentralized. I can see why this is challenging in our region, because it means a lot of less control for government and government-related entities. Maybe there is some security concerns here and there, some customer satisfaction concerns here and there. But then again, it is what makes economical sense. And the pandemic proved so. When people started not being able to pay rents and people started not being able to do a lot of things, they decided that, okay, now we have to cut the overhead and do something else. And this is where we come in.
That's great. I mean, it's very necessary. Anyway, globally, this is what the world is moving towards. And in our region, like you said, sometimes there are issues. There's also visa issues and legal issues. But still, it makes it easier for us to get our services without the middleman type of thing, right?
True.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about fundraising. So in 2020, Forbes Middle East rated 50, I think, startups, right, that were the most funded, and you guys were one of them. So I wanted to know about your fundraising journey, and also if you have any tips. Question that we get asked a lot for startups.
Yeah. Look, I think fundraising is becoming a lot easier for a startup now in the region. There is a lot of money that's being thrown around on startups, especially ones that have merit. The problem I think that most startups face when they're fundraising is that most startups don't really solve for a problem. They do not really have an actual real problem statement. And this is something most founders have to make peace with, that you need to actually validate that you have an actual problem that you are solving. Very difficult, and that's not very common. The other parts of fundraising come down to discussing the strategies of fundraising and how can you get it going very quickly, which is a huge topic that will take a lot of time to discuss. But going through things, do I evaluate or do I not evaluate? When do I evaluate, and how do I evaluate on what basis? Should I raise for myself? Should I let somebody raise for me? And a lot of things of this sort. But to start with, have a good idea that is, have an idea that's good enough that is ignored. Before you think about fundraising, the money will follow. The money is the easy part, I'd like to think, as long as your idea actually solves a real problem that has value in it.
Okay, that's really good advice, I think, actually. Just really understanding the problem and how you're solving it. So yeah. Nelson has a couple of questions. They're more kind of technical questions about how the business works. So one is, do you handle cash when the services are, or who handles the cash, and how does the billing work between the end customer?
So cash is a problem, not just for us. I think cash is everybody's problem. I read an article the other day that said that cash on delivery payments decreased by 75% or something of the sort since the beginning of the pandemic, which is very good news for businesses. You don't want to deal with cash. You want to try and get your customers to trust you with their credit cards as much as possible. But then again, this is a cash first region. When you look at markets like Saudi Arabia, like Egypt, maybe Oman, maybe all of those areas, you have, this is a cash first region, and you need to be able to have very strong billing systems whereby you're not at the end of the day, or whereby you're not losing on your cash receivables. Remains a problem, remains very tricky. Nobody has actually solved it. Maybe one part is making cash payments more expensive is one theory that a lot of people have tried to follow. I think we're going down that path as well. Try and incentivize people as much as possible to use cards. That would be probably the way to
Yeah. And his question kind of leads on from that, is about claims. If there's like some kind of legal issue, how do you indemnify yourself if someone has a complaint or anything like that?
Depends on the kind of complaint that you're getting. So if you're in the service business, you're going to get complaints every day. And this takes you into the angle of believing there is sometimes bad service and there is sometimes a bad customer as well. And you need to be in that you need to actually be fair and judge the situation. Our region has the mentality of this customer always right kind of thing. I don't think that's necessarily always true, especially in a place where maybe the gig workers or the people who are more of the white collar have not been treated the best, to say the least, or have any right to defend themselves. Our platform stands for our heroes and our suppliers' dignity and well-being. That's why we're called Rizq. It's meant to be Rizq for people who want to try and grab that Rizq for themselves. So it's a dignified way of making a living that should protect your dignity, protect you as you work, and also hold you liable to a very high standard of service. So you're always going to get problems, and those are not things that you will find an end to. In every business, there is problems that are ongoing. So quality is a problem that will keep going in with you forever after. So is customer and so on.
Do you think you'll expand to more? So now you're focused kind of more on blue collar. Is there a kind of vision to, I guess maybe with the education, to more kind of white collar as well, to really bring all the services you might need? Healthcare as well.
Healthcare
Yeah, sure.
as well.
Yeah.
It's pretty white collar.
Yeah.
So is a couple of our other services. It's just any service that we can provide, we'll try and provide. Doesn't matter on the color.
And do you see more locals joining as service providers as well?
More, sorry?
Locals as well, or not so
Wallah,
much?
we're starting to see local run businesses. A lot of local run businesses benefit from us. We don't see maybe our service lines that we currently have are not very suitable for the local intelligence or for the local standard. And I think with adding new services that allows for things like design and things like maybe less technical skills, I think that would be we will witness a lot of things.
And I'm sure moving into different countries, different economies, it'll also kind of change that dynamic, right? The UAE will be different from Egypt and different from Saudi as well. I'd be curious to see how that evolves. Anthony is asking, will Rizek have a mutual rating system between client and vendor like Uber, or do you have a better system, or what does your system look like?
I'd love to system than Uber, but I don't think we do. I think we do the same thing that Uber is doing in terms of mutual ratings. So both supplier and buyer get to mutually rate each other, and then there are algorithms at place that make sure you're matched with the best rated suppliers and what have you.
That's great. I mean, it keeps you both. It ensures both of you are right? You're not feeling
Yes.
entitled as a customer. Yeah, that's good. I wanted to ask you about failure. I mean,
Yeah.
every startup knows that the most things that you learn from are from failure. So, can you tell us a story, maybe from previous experiences or from Rizq, of a failure that really taught you something valuable?
So on this point, يعني, I really like the question. Usually people ask about success. Uh, Failure should be any adventurer's best friend. You should befriend failure and make peace with it and make it a present part of your life. Uh, I haven't, or in my life, experienced this, dramatic Hollywood style kind of failure or success. I don't know if it exists in real life, but at least I have not seen. But it is a series of, at Rizq, we fail every day at 100 things and we succeed at three. And that's healthy. And that's daily. Every day you fail at a lot of things and every day you succeed at some things, as long as you're trying new things. Because if you're always succeeding, that means you're not trying things that are challenging or things that are testing you. So it's perfectly fine to fail. It's perfectly fine to try new features that don't work, or to try to launch new campaigns that will not perform, or to try and hire people who do not match your expectations, or try and fire people that you're sad to see go. There is a lot of those small failures that are going to happen every day. So every day you approach the day with the mentality of, I'm going to have failures and successes today. But I want my successes to be bigger than my failures, or to outshadow my failures. And that's how it comes, because you need to fail a lot and fail a lot until you figure out how to succeed, or until you figure out what doesn't work and what could work. So yeah, I cannot, there is a lot of failure that happens on daily basis. I've failed fundraising before. I've out of VC meetings. I've been told we're crazy with what we're thinking about. We've been laughed at and told by people that nobody will ever order healthcare and cleaning from the same platform, and you're out of your mind and go back to energy and all of that. But then again, right? You can call it a failure, you can call it a lesson, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But as long as you know you are solving a valid problem, it won't stop you.
That's good. Okay, there's quite a few questions, so let me try and go through them a little bit. Amar is asking about rates that you charge the businesses, because as you know,
We
of
don't charge
course,
the
not just,
businesses.
you
We
don't
don't
charge the
charge the
businesses
business.
at all.
Don't charge the businesses,
Okay.
Umar. Don't charge your partners, man. Don't do that.
So how does it work then? Now,
They
what's your
just
business
joined.
model?
They just joined the platform, and we make revenues from the actual business we provide them with. So if we make money, they make money, and that's part of the. They make money, we make money. That's how we pitch it to them. It's not like we're trying to milk our suppliers or our vendors for certain subscriptions or that. No, that's very short term vision.
Interesting. Okay, so it's more like a profit share.
Kind of, yeah, yeah.
Do you think that Rizq has helped in reducing the idle time for a generation of service, or to
Yeah,
rendering,
yeah.
from generation to rendering?
Who asked this question?
Nelson.
Well, Nassan, I think you should come work with us. Yeah, definitely. The utilization rate, what we call it, is something we really try to work on. We try and keep your employees or your workers busy at all times, and we try and make it more lucrative to them. And that also contributes on the quality part, because they know they're going on a job for Rizq, they know they're going to get paid more, and that drives them to perform accordingly. So yeah, definitely, Nassim, great question. The idle time is something we measure on frequently, and we try and are utilized as much as possible.
What's is asking what's Rizq's biggest challenge today, both locally in the UAE and regionally? I mean, regionally it might be too early to tell, but biggest challenge.
Um, Again, there is not one. There are challenges. It's challenging every day, and it's a series of different challenges. Our biggest challenge today might be uh, acquiring a huge strip of users. But our biggest challenge tomorrow is scaling the platform at a speed needed for those users. So I don't look at it as one big problem statement. There is a lot of different small pieces to this puzzle that need to be put together in order. And then we can actually solve one big problem. There is not one big challenge that is the stopping us. I cannot just say like, oh, the government, or it's building the platform very quickly, scaling the teams, funding. You cannot pinpoint one of them. It's making those things work together is what your biggest challenge is.
Omar is still curious about your business model and wants to know if he is a business, maybe he is. How could it work? I mean, if you'd prefer to kind of take the conversation offline, and you can give me an email address, I'll circulate it. But if you want to answer it now, I'm also quite curious.
As long as you're not a competitor, Omar. No, I'm joking. So basically, our vendors join us as service providers. We train them and we make sure they're up to standard. And then we support them. They get the leads or they get the jobs that they need to do. Whenever a transaction is done, we share revenue on this particular transaction. So we come at the say, oh, Umar's cleaning company did 1,000 cleanings. They made 1,000,000 dirhams. We will take 30% and they will take 70% or something of the sort. So we charge them on revenue share basis. We do not charge subscription fees or subscribe, all of it.
Any government regulations for this type of business in Abu Dhabi? Or does the government help? And how does that compare in the UAE to the other countries that you're expanding to, so Saudi and Egypt as well? This is Hamoud asking because in Oman, we have a lot of government regulation.
Yeah, I can tell. So we in the UAE, by the way, we have a lot of law. But yeah, I like to say we were pre-legal in the early. And then once the government sees that there is traction and there is benefit and there is that, then they try and make you legalized. طبعا when you're disrupting anything or when you're building anything new, you will step on some toes and you will step on some gray areas and sometimes maybe break some laws in the process, like we've seen Kareem do or Uber or whatever. But then eventually, if there is enough, it will push the government to look at how can we work and regulate those businesses, which is what the case in our and it's an achievement of Rizek that we managed to change the perspective of government on how they look on aggregators and marketplaces and so on.
Okay, that's great. And very progressive as well, if that's how it works.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your kind of inspirations. Tell us about them.
As people or as
both. I mean, I like to ask who is an inspiration or who's a hero, but more often than not, I don't really have one person. I mean, if someone asks me, I don't have one hero, So what's a general kind of inspiration for you or a motivator?
Impact. Impact.
Okay.
is a motivator. To try and see that the work you are doing makes a difference in people's lives, changes a law, creates opportunity, gives people a chance at better living that they couldn't have had if not for what you've done. When you see benefit from the work that you put in, it justifies all the effort that you're putting in. And alhamdulillah, we're super blessed in that sense. I think everybody at Rizek sees that we generate a great deal of value to our partners, to our users, to the people who work with us, to our investors. And this is maybe being an impactful business is a blessing, because it's a lot of times you see businesses that do great stuff, but you see no impact of that business or no visible impact. And I don't think that's a cool thing. So yeah, is one of, or what I look at for motivation is how is this thing going to impact.
Can you tell us a bit about the team at the founder, the founding kind of core. How did you get together, and how are the dynamics between you?
So it started with me and my co-founder just, thinking about it or saying, why does this not exist? Where can we invest in something like this? And we didn't find something to invest in, so we decided thing. After the first person that joined me was our CXO, Layan Barghouti, and we're basically doing a little bit of everything, right? So you are the everything from from the coffee person to running the business to doing the accounts to managing whatever it is. But then quickly after business started picking up traction, we got joined by some more and more experienced people. Our one of the first people that joined us as well was our finance lead, Divyesh, great guy. And talent brings more comfort to other people to join. And then we had, alhamdulillah, a very strong core set together. And as you grow into the business, the teams change. So not everybody stays, not everybody goes, and then people go into other things, or you discover that the people who did well at a certain stage are not the people who will do great at the next stage. And those are difficult decisions that you have to take that are for the better of the business.
And when did this all start? In 2019, is that right?
The end of 2020.
That's when you launched, or that's when the idea came about?
No, that's when the idea came about. We launched much later. So we launched about almost a year.
Wow, so still early days. So much to look forward to.
yeah, sure.
So it's kind of 10 million, right? Financing. If you got 50 million financing, what would you have in mind?
I'd retire, Hamoud. No, I'm joking. We would, again, we would expand. We think the market opportunity is huge. The number of services, the number of geographies is infinite. Our services are just as valid in London as they are in Dubai. And our lines are just as valuable in New York as they are in Riyadh. This is where it is. We want to be global, and we want to go to the big markets, and we want to bring something of this region that can take over a global market. So we definitely fuel that into a lot of aggressive lead scaling and expansion.
I mean, one of the first Amar made in the beginning of the session was that in Africa, brilliantly, like it's a very necessary kind of service in a lot of the cultures where people are working by themselves, and it would be great to consolidate their efforts or have one roof. Lulwa is asking how you decide on the profit share with the service providers.
Well, you need to decide on a margin that doesn't break the service provider's profit, like DoorDash and Uber Eats and those guys are doing in the US, where it got to the point where it's extortion, not partnership. So you need to decide on a point where the supplier is actually making good money and you're making good money, so you don't get greedy, and you test with it. So you need to go into different rounds of testing to understand what's what. You don't really wake up and say, this is my percentage. You benchmark, you look at the market, you see what people are willing to pay, and then you go for it.
I guess then that's something that you revise and look at as you
go
on.
Yes, definitely.
And depending on the market as well. So we're coming up to 8:45, but if anyone else has more questions, please do shoot them before we have our last words. Hamoud is asking, can you tell us how it evolved from idea to booking of first service?
Subhanallah, that was I always think about that, and it looks very surreal if you ask me, because you kind of forget all the effort and all the stuff that you put in. From an idea to a first booking is a huge journey, because that's you going 0 to 1. Going from 1 booking to 100 bookings isn't really as difficult as going from no bookings to 1 booking. from building the systems to studying them to watching your systems fail again and again and again, and having the merit to say, no, okay, we'll try one more time and we'll push one more time and we'll do that, and we'll hire this person and we'll bring that person, and you run out of money and you freak out and you bring it in again, is a constant strife. It's a constant journey of really, really pushing yourself beyond any comfort. And super exciting, it's super exciting. I love watching other businesses do it. I love watching entrepreneurs do it and so on. So it's a very long journey. It's about 9 months of you trying to put in the work that you do not really see materialize, but then all of a sudden you see that tree start blossoming very quickly, and it's very good.
At any point of time do you think Rizq will directly give services?
We try to stay away from that.
Nelson is wondering, then it might reduce third-party dependencies.
It would, Nelson, but it would also increase it would inflate our balance sheet in a way that doesn't let us be asset light anymore. So we try not to.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So usually we end at 45 minutes. Do you have any kind of last words? Anything you want to add?
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in Muscat, inshallah,
Yes.
sometimes.
I think we can do a repeat session as soon as things open up and there's no quarantine. And then we can have you here and everyone can meet you. But Anthony, just wanted to give you a compliment. It's saying good to see someone act quickly and take advantage of the situation in 2020 during a pandemic. So good luck. And good luck from
Thank
all
you,
of us.
Anthony. Luck to you too.
Everyone for attending. And Muscat has a Instagram, Twitter page, and of course on the website www.startupgrind.com. Stay tuned for more events. We're going to take a bit of a break and come back in September. I really, really hope that in September we can have in-person events. I hope. Otherwise, join us again virtually in September. Thank you so much, Abdallah. This was fascinating. Good luck to you in Egypt and all successes, inshallah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.